First, we're going to talk about the charges, or lack thereof, that happened this week surrounding the police officers who killed Breonna Taylor. Breonna Taylor was a 26-year-old black woman who lived in Louisville. She worked as an EMT. She was a daughter, a sister, a cousin, a girlfriend, and a friend. Her friends said she changed their lives for the better by living the Bree way. Breonna Taylor loved empowering and supporting the people around her. Her motto in life was all you can do every day is wake, pray, and slay. Her best friend Elena said, if you ever needed someone to boost your confidence, that was Bree. Her mom told Teen Vogue, Breonna always smiled. I can remember being mad at her and she would be smiling. According to the New York Times, the night before her death, Breonna Taylor had just done 4 overnight shifts at the hospital. She and her boyfriend Kenneth Walker planned a date night. They had dinner, then they went to her apartment for a movie. All over her apartment were post-it notes of goals she had for the year. She had just bought a car. Next on her list was to buy a new home and to try for a baby with her boyfriend. They had the name picked out and everything. They fell asleep together just after midnight on March 13th, with the movie still playing. The last thing she said was turn off the TV, he said in an interview. Police officers entered her home shortly after they fell asleep. Their names are Jonathan Mattingly, Brett Hankison, and Miles Cosgrove. They entered her home on a no-knock warrant, searching for a suspect who didn't even live there. Breonna Taylor's boyfriend, Kenneth Walker, then shot his gun because he thought they were intruders. Officers responded by shooting 32 shots back. Breonna Taylor was struck 5 times. This happened back in March. This week, a grand jury charged no one for the death of Breonna Taylor. In September, Louisville officials paid Breonna Taylor's family $12 million to settle a wrongful death lawsuit. They know what they did, but Breonna Taylor didn't get the justice that she deserved. Now, I want to read this tweet from @thisblee on Twitter. She was used for everything. Used to promote everything. Used to make people look good and socially conscious. Used to promote parties. Used for memes. Used as an example. Used and used and used. And even with all of this, she didn't get the one thing she needed. Justice.
It's really frustrating. I think it's obviously it's disappointing. That goes without saying. I think you'd be soulless to not be disappointed by that. But part of me is like, it's so expected. And that's what's just so fucked up about the justice system in this country for people of color. If this were, I'm going to use you as an example because you're white. If this was you, all 3 of those officers would have been arrested. They would have lost their jobs. It wouldn't have even been a thing. It would have been like, duh. But because it was a person of color, they were not held accountable one bit. Essentially, the walls in her apartment got more justice than she did. And she's a living human being who did nothing wrong. She had her future, her life ahead of her. She did nothing wrong, and this happened to her. And, you know, the tweet you read out loud, it's so true. I think, you know, the Black Lives Movement is obviously great, what they're doing, but it's so true. Like, you have these kind of figureheads that are really symbolic and are used to push the movement forward, but at the end of the day, it's really annoying and frustrating when they don't get justice. It's like all the Instagram posts, everything you say is not going to get her justice. It's not going to bring her back.
I know. That's the thing. Justice would have truly been none of this happening in the first place. It's absolutely infuriating and just, I mean, her name's everywhere. Like, it's like that tweet said, literally everyone knows who Breonna Taylor is, but, like, it's just like her family and her friends knew who she was, beyond just someone who was murdered at the hands of police. And it's just like, I don't know, a life was lost, and it's absolutely awful.
Yes, and I really appreciate you, like, actually talking about her as a person, because you're so right. I feel like, coming from someone who used to work in media, it's, you know, you have time to fill, and you don't have too much time to give to one specific story, so sometimes you'll cover a little bit about the person on day one, and then the next day you kind of do follow-ups about the charges, and I think that is an issue. I think you should always remember the person, because at the end of the day, this is a person, and they deserve to be remembered, not just as the person who got shot by police, another person who got shot and killed by police. They deserve to be remembered for everything they did, for their aspirations, for the person they wanted to be, and not just as a name.
I know, like, all the reports of, like, go kind of exploring who she was as a person, like, she kept telling family and friends, like, this was her year. And that's, like, the part that's most heartbreaking to me, because it could have been her year. It could have been the next, I don't know, 50 plus years could have been her years, but it was taken away from her.